Welcome to The Guardian, a podcast aimed to educate citizens about law enforcement practices. I'm your co-host, Madison Audo. Our guest today is Ellie Herndon. Ellie is a senior double majoring in supply chain logistics and management. She is serving her fourth year in the Mississippi State University Student Association. Outside of the Student Association, Ellie is also a College of Business ambassador, a member of programming staff for new Maroon Camp, an Alumni Delegate, and a member of Kappa Delta Sorority. Ellie currently serves as a Mississippi State University Student Body President. Welcome to the podcast, Ellie, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, listen, today is going to be about off-campus student living. And I've got some numbers here that I love. There are over 20 million Americans who attend college campuses, many of whom are leaving home for the first time. These are younger men and women who are learning to live away from home while transitioning into adults. The college or university which they choose is based upon multiple factors. Many of the Guardian listeners, both parents and students, have reached out for a conversation concerning student safety. This conversation directed towards all off-campus living, and hopefully our listeners come away with a feeling of being more comfortable. And I want to say, as the Chief of Police, I'm very honored to have you here. Can I call you President Herndon, or do I call you Ellie, or how do you choose to be called?
You can call me Ellie, or you can call me President Herndon, whatever is best fit for you, but I appreciate that.
Yes, no doubt. Well, I'm going to go with Ellie, although you totally have earned through a fabulous campaign of becoming president of Mississippi State Student Body. Again, a conversation. You just recently came back from a conference with they had several different student body presidents throughout the United States attending. Tell us, how did that go, and what was that about in regards to, did safety ever come up in those discussions?
Absolutely. So towards the end of the summer, we had our annual conference with various SEC student body presidents. It's with our typical 14 schools, and this year we were really thrilled to have the Oklahoma student government join us as we begin our transition into adding Oklahoma and Texas into the SEC. But student safety was actually at the forefront of what we brought to the table with our discussions with Mississippi State University. I was able to give a presentation on our program and initiative with Uber, where we help provide student discounts to the student body through Uber, paid for by our student association, and that we get a lot of questions from other SEC schools about that program, what that would look like at their schools. And we see that student safety is obviously a very big priority across the SEC and nationwide at various universities. So it was really neat to be able to share what we've done and how we're prioritizing that here at Mississippi State University, and how that can translate to other universities.
Excellent. Uber being a key tool now in the entertainment for any larger areas where you're going to have entertainment district, you got to organize it. You need to be definitely on top of it. If you've got a student body that can offer discounts, that's an amazing program. We just recently have reached out to Uber ourselves on University Drive in our own entertainment district, and designated Uber organized Uber pickups, which is something that a lot of universities are doing, and I think it's absolutely important in this day and age to do that, to have an area, our particular area is covered by cameras in case something happens. But if you're a university community and you haven't done that, it's something you definitely need to consider for sure. I'm glad to hear that safety was a part of it. Again, taking back to our Guardian listeners, this thing is about education. It's about awareness, and I'm not only a chief of police in charge of when they come off of campus, 20+ thousand students and their safety. I'm also a father, and whose children are either have hit that age as a freshman or upcoming freshmen, and so I get it. I understand the parents have a lot of concerns as to what they can do for the safety of their children, and yeah, let's move into that discussion. As you were preparing here, you've heard something about the Jean Cleary Act, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and tell us what you learned about it.
So while I was not entirely familiar prior to coming here, hearing that it's a priority through this act to be transparent about safety-related issues on campus and making sure that things like that are being reported, being told to students and their parents, again, for transparency purposes, shows that safety is at the forefront of our universities, of our student bodies, of our cities that host college campuses. And so getting to see that was really powerful and really impactful, and knowing how valued I am as a student with my safety.
Excellent. And Madison, tell our viewers a little bit of background on Jean Cleary.
Okay, so Jean Cleary was a freshman at Lee University, and she was assaulted and murdered in her dorm on campus. And it was originally called the Student Right to Know and Campus Security Act, but it was also renamed after her in honor of her name. It's a federal law that requires colleges and universities who receive federal funding to prepare, publish, and distribute by October 1st of every year campus security and safety policies, and also crime statistics, and in the form of annual security report. And the Department of Education is is responsible for the compliance.
This is important because everybody, when you're parents, you don't realize how the safety is still out there. The pressures that the Cleary family wanted safety for their children in 1985 when they were choosing Lehigh University, the same that parents today want, right? And the backdrop of that story is pretty powerful. Jean Cleary chose Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, a smaller community, amazing university, they thought at the time. And in April of 1986, she met a violent end. Someone had left a dorm room open. She was assaulted and strangled. And her mother made it her agenda when she found out that there had been 38 violent crimes to occur in under 3 years on that campus. So, unfortunately, in the loss of her daughter, she brought to awareness and managed to get that federal act passed, and it is very important. And the reason why I bring it up is, I think, first of all, Mississippi State does an amazing job. They work very closely with the Starkville Police Department. I know that other universities close by do it, but there's a lot of universities that don't. It was pretty significant to me as a chief of police to see in 2019 a major Northern University, California institution was hit with $2.5 million fine for failure to follow in common sense practices of reporting violent acts. And if you think it's just one, it's not. In 2017, 10 major universities were cited for not following through on the Cleary Act of just lack of transparency, lack of reporting. And it's the same reason why we mentioned a couple of times, image matters when you're recruiting, but you had better be fixing the problem and not putting makeup on it, right? And that is something that amazing, that something that you would think would be common sense is still not, that other universities are struggling to do. So the reason why we're bringing it up, Mississippi State is an amazing university. We have a safe community. And when you look at everybody seems to be concerned about the top 25 in football. What they should, as parents, when they're making the choice, take a look at your top 25 in Cleary. Take a look at your safest communities. Take a look at your not so safest communities. Let that be part of the decision making. I think obviously I'm preaching from the choir here. I think Mississippi State would stand pretty tall if they choose that in their safety. All right, so let's talk about student life, entertainment. What are some personal experiences either one of you have had, scares or things that you think that the students need to know when they are off duty in entertainment atmosphere, alcohol, things like that? What are some questions or experiences that you'll think that we need to talk to our listeners about?
Honestly, whenever I came here freshman year, I had never even visited Mississippi State, and I'm from the coast of Mississippi, so it's kind of like odd not to know about Starkville, but I never knew about Uber, honestly. I didn't know if it would be here because it's such a small community. Like, why would they have Uber drivers if it's not a big community where you need to drive everywhere? Because honestly, you can walk most places in Starkville.
That's right.
And I think it was just like very eye-opening to learn about, especially the initiative that Mississippi State just started doing of connecting Uber with Mississippi State and giving students discounts because it is expensive. Even though it's small, it's about like $10 per ride in Starkville. And not everybody has that. And it's a lot safer knowing that you don't have to figure out a way to walk someone home or to get someone to drive someone home in an entertainment industry or just in a place where alcohol is being consumed.
When you talk about Uber, what was the driving factor? Was that an idea that you originated with your staff? Tell us about that.
It was an idea that came from my predecessor, so the president before me, Kennedy Guest, and I served on his executive team as the treasurer this past year. So that was an initiative that we all worked on, but we've had a long-standing dedication to providing that safe transportation for students. We previously had an initiative called Cowbell Cabs, which was a free ride service to students, but kind of back to the safety and the image issues we had, it was white vans that were coming to pick up students. And so I think that intimidated a lot of students. And we saw that a lot of students were already using rideshare services like Uber and Lyft and things of that sort. And to Madison's point, Starkville is very walkable. To the accessibility issue, if people are wanting to take an Uber home, they have access to do that. But if they would prefer to walk, they can do that as well. But we wanted to continue with that idea of providing transportation to students that they can feel safe doing. So we made the transition to Uber in September of 2022. So we just made a year with that program and have been collecting a lot of data to see how students like it, to see if that's been a worthwhile initiative that we've been doing, if the students enjoy the discount that they get, if that's sufficient to help accommodate their nightlife endeavors. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback. So anyone that has an msstate.edu email address can utilize that. And we're just really passionate about keeping students safe, which I know all of you are as well here at the police department. So it's nice to see that people are working towards a common goal to accommodate to the students.
Yeah, normally we I shouldn't say this on a podcast with the president of the Mississippi State University student body sitting right here. But I jokingly say that our officers are kind of like high school algebra. We're really good at copying anything that looks good, right? And we copied a safety zone that we tried to get into play for this year. It is very new, where we established tents right across from where we've asked for Uber to do our pickups. And the purpose of that is just like what you're talking about. It's about student safety. We recognize that these are young adults that might have too much to drink or, might have mixed medication. The purpose at that stage, if their friends are lost, there are a lot of good people in the crowd don't necessarily want to be attached to an individual that is really that far out. They look over and they see paramedics, they see firemen, they see policemen in a safety zone, meaning they're not going to jail. Bring them over. We will get them the medical assessment. We will get them the treatment that they need. We'll find them the way home, put them in official hands to where there's accountability there. That is something that goes so far. And again, it's something that simply we started copying from other agencies. We were behind times on that, something we should have been doing. But we were effectively doing, and it is, like you said, it's about safety of the students. And I hope to advance that as the season goes on to where we can continue to do it. I'll be honest, I think sometimes the volunteers of where we kind of struggle a little bit, and maybe it's something that with your association we can talk about, student volunteers. I think it's really soft if you look over and you see fellow students that are occupying or assisting us to occupy the safety tent, and to be able to let that wall down a little bit to say, hey, relax. And that's tough to do because, they might have just witnessed a fight around the corner and you will be going to jail if it's in front of our officers, right? So it's tough to get the safety zone into play when it's just police hanging out there. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'd first like to say that it just says so much about the police department and the efforts of the Starkville community to provide that resource for students. I know you mentioned that y'all may have been a little behind in getting that there, but the fact that it's even established says so much about how willing y'all are to protect students and their safety and to prioritize that. I completely agree with what you said, that students feel more comfortable going to other students with things. We see that with our on-campus events and anything that happens within our student association. And that was a really big goal of my campaign with my vice president, is that we wanted to kind of help be that liaison between the student body. The student association can be a resource to students and kind of take advantage of knowing more information, knowing where to find their resources, whether that be on campus or off campus. So I think it would be great to have student volunteers there. And I personally would love to come help volunteer and help ensure the safety of our student body.
Awesome. That, you know what, today's been a busy day, but when you accomplish something, that was just an accomplishment. So excellent. We look forward to working close in hand with you on that. And yeah, I mean, every parent will say this, they're concerned about their young, if y'all will always be children in our eyes, but as you experience, alcohol and even there's narcotic element that's out there, the ability to make good decisions, right? And sometimes you have to learn, and sometimes you're going to make mistakes. One of the things that I see as a chief of police that really impacts students in particular is poor planning and going out. Is it something, both of you are sorority members, something that if within Greek life, do you talk about the importance of planning and having a buddy system or things of that nature?
Yes.
Can you enlighten us?
Well, in my sorority, we have a new member educator that they guide the freshmen through their first year in the sorority, and they also make them aware of what to do off of campus and how to be safe getting home and what not to do, and ways you can, they also make it very open that you can call any member at any time and they will pick you up. They made it a big initiative. And also with social functions within the sorority, they provide transportation to and from, and they also have sober monitors that walk around the event just to make sure everyone's safe and everyone's okay. And you also have to you can't just leave the function. You have to ride their transportation back and also have a reliable ride home.
I'd also add that through the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life, every freshman or first year student that is involved in a Greek organization has to attend a department-wide new member class. So kind of like what Madison was talking about, but on a larger scale for every chapter. And one of the first topics of discussion in those presentations is a student-led presentation about alcohol awareness and safe consumption, because I think the hard thing is that we know that students will be consuming alcohol. It's not like we're here to say you shouldn't do that or belittle anyone for choosing to do that, but it's more important to help students create those informed decisions regarding it. It's not to say don't do it, but rather if you're going to do it, be safe about it, be informed about it, and we're here to help you. And kind of to Madison's point as well with ideas such as sober monitors and providing transportations to functions, it's kind of a way to meet the students halfway. Again, to not make them feel bad about the decisions they're making, but just help them be more informed and more conscious about the decisions and efforts that they're making.
No doubt. I would love for our department, and of course, like I said, Mississippi State does a wonderful job in their student outreach and what they do, but anytime you guys have that discussion for off campus, I would love for our department to be there, because what we see, we see, your cell phone is such an important part. And by the way, a compliment to your generation. All my generation had to go off of was Animal House's movies to know how to act in college. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have all the internet. I'm dating my age here, but that's what we thought college was about when we showed up. And, excessive drinking and falling out and thinking that was the way. And I think that the Greek culture's done a really good job through education. And it's been essential that we don't have more events than what we do. One of the problems I see is the cell phone is the constant connection, right? And you hear it all the time. I mean, you're the generation that really grew up with it. The problem that I see is when people leave in entertainment, especially with young women, they will have that cell phone advertising that they have it, and they feel that need for connection. Yet law enforcement all across America will tell you this, that's probably the worst thing that you can do, especially if you are solo. And the reason why it's many times if someone has ill intent, they're looking for someone that's not paying attention. They're looking for someone that is hasn't noticed And it's pretty easy to notice someone with ill intent. First of all, they're going to be loitering, right? They're going to be hanging out with no real purpose. They're kind of waiting for something, someone. So following your gut instincts, if you see something, say something. But if you see something that causes you to look up again, reevaluate it. And you can't do that if you're in your phone. Now, your phone plays an important role. Every phone now has a camera, has a video, has an audio, has tracking capability. That's great stuff. Use it, keep it charged up, let people know where you're going and what you're doing. But very much like in the world of nature, predators like to strike when it's one person. Not when it's two, not when it's three, not when it's four. The bigger the crowd, the better. So pre-planning is very important. At any college in America, pre-plan. If you do find yourself by yourself, then there's a couple of things that you should do. First of all, let someone know that's trusted, not someone that's inebriated, someone that's trusted to know what your plans are and where you intend to go and what you intend to do. All right. And then try to find a safe route, a well-lit route, one with lots of individuals walking. We see that mistake a lot of times too. And I had a young lady a few years ago that say that, she felt uncomfortable if someone was following her. And I said, well, where are you trying to go? She's trying to go to her complex. I said, why didn't you simply, this large party event over here, why didn't you just walk into that? She wasn't thinking that. She was thinking I had to get from point A to point B, and the more pressure she was under, the harder she was trying to get there when all she had to do was change directions, right? Mm-hmm. Simple stuff to be thinking about when you're out there that I think in these discussions, especially with Greek organizations and throughout social media, that we need to push a little better. Just use your cell phone. Use it as an effective tool, but don't let it become a distraction when it's time to focus on what you're doing,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are some safety concerns other than going out would anyone have? Like freshmen, incoming freshmen or parents?
I think a really big concern that we see with freshmen is that sometimes they may just be unfamiliar with new territory. And so to kind of your previous point talking about if you are, I know this kind of ties back to nightlife, but if you are out and about in our Cotton District or just, in the Starkville community, knowing your surroundings and being familiar with where you are. I can remember freshman year how long it took me to learn the Starkville community, even if I was in my car driving around it. It's a lot to take in a new place.
Sure.
So I think it ties back to just being informed and taking some time to learn this new place that freshmen are in. I think that parents have really valid concerns in thinking I'm sending my freshman or first year student to this new place that if they were like Madison, they may have never been to before. It's very unfamiliar territory. So I think that Starkville has done a great job of being a community to these college students and making this, 4-year endeavor that you spent or however many years you may be in college feel like home. And so helping students realize that they just need to take the time to learn their surroundings and realize all the opportunities that are around them.
It's the same challenge our police department faces. When we hire new officers, they have to know the community. And we'll tell you firsthand, any college community you move to is going to look different in the daytime than it will at night. Check out both when you're in the safety of your vehicle. And also, again, to take it back to the cell phone, many times we'll get students, and we've got some interns here that live in the county. They go to school and the university, and yet when they do entertainment, they come into the city. That's 3 different jurisdictions. Use your phone to follow the social media trends. I think wherever you are, I think law enforcement is getting there. A lot of us are where we need to be, but we're getting much better at pushing out information on our social media. So if you know the area where you're going to be living, go ahead and make that intentional effort to start following the jurisdictions that are going to impact you. I think that's one thing that you can do that helps bring awareness to your surroundings of what might be taking place. And then, like you said, we have to do it for our officers. We have to, they're actually required to get out on foot and walk certain areas so they know, because when they're running or pursuing someone, they don't need to hit a ditch and figure out this was there, and so daytime looks different than nighttime for sure. And I think that, again, going back to planning and making that kind of part of your parental, hey, I want to get my child prepared. Here's the city map. Take a look at it.
I was also about to mention maps. Like, Starkville PD does such a good job, especially when big events are happening off campus or during football games, just posting all maps, every single like place where police presence will be and how to get home safely from the games. I think y'all do a fabulous job at that. And also like a nightly reminder to lock your doors just to prevent everything. I think, and
not DM routine. That is so, you wouldn't believe that internal discussions on that, but yeah. They're getting really good at what they're pushing.
I know. And then as well as coffee with a cop. I mean, I feel like a lot of students also don't know about that.
No.
But I feel like it could help students like get acquainted with police. So whenever they do see the checkpoints or just the tent set up in entertainment areas, that they don't feel scared to just go up to them. Because honestly, before I started working here, like I was terrified to go up to a police officer. But like now working here, like everyone just wants to help.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a scary situation.
Yeah. We had that just the other night at Bulldog Bash. We had an incident where a young lady needed some information. She approached us. Her friends were like, no, don't. What they didn't know is that her father was retired from this department. She knew the officers, but you could see them kind of, holding her back. And we're like, look, it's okay. Just relax. But, seeing that firsthand, makes us realize we got a long way to go, no doubt. But thank you for your comments on that. To bring it back on, one of the things that I think students have to face is property crimes, right? Whether you're talking on campus or off campus throughout the United States, that is perhaps one of the number one things that we deal with. And for us, a key component in that where there's not a lot of accountability, it's just word of mouth, or the property managers. There's not a lot of houses that are open at any student housing atmosphere. So once you come off of campus, you are finding yourself doing what? Moving into apartment complexes. Mm-hmm. And ladies and gentlemen, I can speak from experience that not all apartment managers are the same. So when you do move into these complexes, take the same energy and effort you did in researching your university, research the apartment complex, call, ask around. That's going to be some important stuff as you're dealing with property crimes. And I would say invest in technologies. Cameras are cheap. I looked at a system that could handle 24 doors and windows and a small video system for under $300. Technology is getting there. Invest in that. Also, a small portable safe. Many times for women, it's jewelry, things of that nature. They're not expensive. Just attach it to something that's unmovable. Those will go a long way in saving you from property crimes.
Absolutely. I've seen a really large increase in students who have started using devices like Ring doorbells to provide safety. I know I can speak from experience at my apartment complex that I see a lot of those, and I've read so many stories about how that has almost saved someone's life, just having that technological accessibility. So I think that that's a great recommendation for students because it almost feels like you're starting over when you do your college search freshman year, but then you almost have to start over when it's time to find housing again.
That's
you got to do that research all over again and find safe places to live. That's at the forefront of finding a place to live, is finding a safe place to live.
No doubt. And when you ask these managers about, who has access to the keys? Well, maintenance is maintenance schedule. What's the protocols there?
Mm-hmm.
Get in depth with it. And to go back on the door cameras, they're amazing. And I've got to put in the plug here for the Starkville crowd because do the camera registry. A lot of programs are starting to set up the FUSA systems. Do the camera registry. It's not that we're wanting to see what you look like in your bathrobe. It's not connected to our systems. It lets us know. Okay, we have a camera here, so if a crime takes place down the street, we're able to simply circle all these camera registries. We push out through your email, through your text messaging, hey, look, check your systems. Someone down the road, some event has taken place, and it really saves time because if you're looking after your neighbor, right, and you're able to provide this information, you're not the victim next week. And so I had to get them. When I heard doorbell, those are amazing systems, and we highly encourage.
Yeah, and I also feel like people, like, especially when I was looking for apartments, like, I just kind of just picked an apartment. I didn't really think about property crimes. I don't know why I didn't. I was thinking about safety, like someone breaking into my house, but obviously there's a lock. and like cameras and stuff, but I never thought a property crime would happen in an apartment complex just because I haven't lived in one, maybe. I don't know, but...
And now working at the police department.
My head is constantly on a swivel.
No doubt. That's what we need from everyone. Well, ladies, I've absolutely enjoyed the podcast here. I hope that our viewers came away with a little bit more education, again, at a national level of what students can do and what parents can take a look at and really... evaluate. I know the top 25 football is important for everyone, but take a look at the top 25 in Cleary. And again, credit to Lehigh University. They're now, since that disastrous, have been one of the safer programs for a long time. They got the idiots out of there and they put people in charge that know what they're doing. And so credit to that. But again, thank y'all, and thank you to our listeners for coming online with The Guardian. We appreciate you.